All right, let's get into this. There's a fascinating new paper out that basically uncovers all the secret AI hiding inside the apps on your phone. And the best part? They built an AI detective to hunt down all the other AIs. I mean, think about it. We use apps for literally everything, right? Photo editing, shopping, you name it. And we're always told they're just packed with artificial intelligence. But what does that even mean? Trying to figure out what's actually going on under the hood has been a total black box.
And that's exactly the issue. This complete lack of transparency is becoming a really big deal. Users want to know what's happening with their data, and regulators are definitely starting to ask some pretty tough questions about what these invisible little systems are up to.
So how did people try to crack this case before? Well, let's just say the old methods were a little analog, kind of like sending an old-school gumshoe detective into a high-tech crime scene.
Yeah, just picture the old playbook. People manually digging through lines of code, doing simple keyword searches, and using these really rigid, rule-based systems. It was super slow, crazy expensive, and honestly pretty clumsy. They were missing all sorts of crucial clues, like API calls to outside services that were hidden deep in an app's code.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. The paper itself points out that these old-school techniques just couldn't keep up. It's like they were trying to solve a 1,000-piece puzzle, but only had about half the pieces. We were left with a totally incomplete picture of what was really going on.
But now, a new high-tech detective has hit the scene, and it's here to crack the case wide open. It's called LLMAID, and believe me, it is a complete game changer. So here's the really brilliant part. The researchers built an AI specifically to hunt for other AIs. They took that same powerful large language model tech, the stuff behind ChatGPT, and turned it into this super specialized investigator for mobile apps.
And this image just nails the core idea. Instead of just matching words, LLMAID uses the human-like reasoning of an LLM to actually understand the code. That's the secret sauce. It can figure out what a piece of code is for based on its context, not just its name. It pieces clues together, just like a real detective, to see that bigger picture.
So let's get into the detective's toolkit and see how this thing actually builds a case, step by step. It's a really clever 4-stage process.
Think of it like a crime show. First, it scans the whole crime scene, that's the app's code, and dusts for every single fingerprint it can find. Second, it runs those prints against a huge database of known criminals and innocent folks to filter out the noise. Third, it brings the main suspects, the leftover code, in for interrogation. And this is where the LLM really shines, asking, what do you do? Why are you here? And finally, it writes up the definitive case report, a clean summary of all the AI it uncovered. Okay, so you put this new super sleuth on the job. What does it actually find? Well, the results are pretty staggering. It turns out we've been missing a lot.
The researchers put LLMAID head-to-head with the best previous method out there, which was a top-of-the-line, rule-based system. And the difference? Well, it wasn't even close.
242%. Just let that sink in for a second. That's how many more AI-powered apps LLMAID discovered compared to the old ways. This wasn't just a small improvement, this was a total breakthrough.
And when you dig into the case files, you start to see what kinds of AI are most common. And as you can see right here, over half of it is computer vision. We're talking about the AI that powers object detection in your camera or the face recognition that unlocks your phone. What's kind of wild is how much it just dominates everything else, with data analysis coming in a distant second.
But here's the thing. This detective doesn't just find more suspects. It writes a much better report. The summaries that LLMAID created about what an app's AI can do turned out to be way more useful and accurate than what the developers themselves were putting in the App Store.
And this slide just shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got the typical marketing fluff you see in the App Store, vague promises of advanced language models. But on the right, you get LLMAID's report, just the hard facts. It tells you the app is specifically using the OpenAI API for chat, for edits, and for fine-tuning. It's the difference between a sales pitch and cold, hard evidence.
And to back all this up, the researchers ran a study with actual developers. As you can see from the chart, the results were crystal clear. The devs consistently rated LLMAID's summaries as way more accurate and complete than the official descriptions they were reading.
So look, this isn't just some cool academic project with fancy charts. This kind of tech has some serious real-world implications for pretty much anyone who uses a smartphone. At the end of the day, what tools like this give us is something we really haven't had before. A genuine shot at transparency and control. For the first time, regular users and regulators have a reliable tool to see what's really going on. It helps developers secure their own work and, maybe most importantly, it points to a future where we can actually use AI to police other AIs, keeping these incredibly powerful systems in check.
Which kind of leaves you with this one final fascinating thought. We've actually reached a point where our technology is so complex that we have to build another AI just to understand what the first one is doing. As this trend keeps going, what does that mean for the future? Are we just going to increasingly rely on one AI to translate what another one is doing, just so we can make sense of it all? Definitely something to think about.